And we're back. Hello, crazy German fans. Hope you guys are having a great week and weekend. And I just wanted to provide a nice little quick shop update, things I'm working on, things I'm planning. And we'll cut over here and I'll show you, we have a new battle setup for Flames of War Africa battles. And got some new terrain on the board, more palm trees, a lot more constricted environment. We're going to do the same two Africa Corps and Desert Rat Army lists, so I've just swapped sides and rejiggered the board so it's not the same as the last battle. And we're going to play out another game and see if the Africa Corps can win this one. I'm going to try some different tactics with the Africa Corps. I think if the Africa Corps loses this this upcoming battle, I need to play with the list a little bit. So plans for the future, some things I have not ordered yet but are on the ordering list for Africa Corps is I want to get some more Panzer IIIs, a box of Panzer IIIs, a box of Panzer IIs. I would like to pick up some of the Pumas, the little armored vehicles. Those things are sweet. I definitely want to pick up a box of those. What else? The little Hummel self-propelled artillery units. I want those just because I want to add them to my collection. So those are on the list for the Germans to round out the German Africa Corps. Then Desert Rats, more of the anti-tank artillery. Definitely want some more of those. So, or not anti-tank, I'm sorry, it was the dang it, the artillery. I needed to order another box of 4 more 25 pounders, I believe they are, and so I can do a full artillery barrage and not lose any advantages as far as re-rolling hits and that kind of crap. When you only have 2 artillery pieces, I'm going to go to 6. So that's on the list. Brits, a couple more boxes of various tanks. I'm going to need more Crusaders to round out my legal army list. I'm going to need more Grants. So I'm probably looking at getting a box of Crusaders, a box of Grants to kind of flesh that legal tournament list out. Plus we can play with more stuff, we can play a bigger battle, which is really what I want to do anyway, so that's fine. And we went over that on another video. But I've, you know, as a lot of you guys do, us YouTubers and guys watching YouTubes and trying to find out new techniques and new things, I've, you know, for years I've stumbled across the what we would term Napoleonics. I've got myself a little cheat sheet here because I don't want to forget anybody. There's a few YouTube channels I want to give a shout out to because they've really inspired me. And you know, as a war gamers, we're always, at least I am, always looking for the next frontier. You know, as you all know, my main games are Flames of War and Kings of War, which I'm still working on a large horde of Vasilians, basically, swordmen, and we're going to do those up in the legal regiment bases, so that at the future when I go to Gen Con or Adepticon, I've got, my daughter is a senior in high school this year. She'll be going to college obviously next year to this school where my son attends. He's a junior this year. He's been doing really, really well. We're really proud of him. At my age, at 20 years old, he's heads and tails above where I was at his age. So he's a successful kid. He's a go-getter. But my point is, I'll have 2 kids off and college and starting out in their own, doing their own thing. So my wife and I have been making more plans. Like most of this morning I've spent out in our vegetable garden, you know, harvesting tomatoes, beans. So we've gotten into about a 2,000 square foot garden, and I'm expanding that to the other side of my barn. which is going to be another 70. Well, it'll be all tomatoes on that side. So my point is, we are starting to develop more things we're going to do with our time. My daughter is a cheerleader, and she's in orchestra, and she's also a dancer. She's going to be attending Kent to get a degree in dance. So my wife's time is going to free up with the ripping and running. She's obviously old enough to drive, so my daughter's been driving herself pretty much to all her appointments and practices, and she has 2 part-time jobs, you know. So yeah, that's, I want to raise my kids to be go-getters, you know, not to sit on their butts and suck their thumbs and expect the government to provide for them. So proud of both of them. But where I'm going with this topic is we're going to have more free time freed up. We already do things. We do a lot of cycling, hiking, and things, and I love having things to do. I'm a type of person, I don't like to just sit around. And you know, if the weather is really bad outside, if it's too hot or it's too cold and I can't get out and do anything, that's predominantly when I'm down here in the shop working on my hobbies. So I will be expanding my hobbies. As you all know, we've had kind of the goal of getting the rest of this basement level completely finished as a gamer's den. We're going to see if I can at least starting to get the framing started this winter coming up. It's late August here in Central Ohio, so we've had, I would say, a mediocre year with business this year. I'm still busy, but we're starting to see a lot of empty nester, what would you call it, baby boomers, which I'm part of the tail end of the baby boomers, starting to downsize, and they're moving, and that impacts my business. The younger people that are coming into these homes just are not taking care of them like the older people did, you know, with planting flowers, which I don't do. I do chemical work, but as far as keeping their property up, you don't see the younger people in their 30s that are coming in and buying some of these homes, and even some of the Chinese people and the Indian people coming from India are buying these homes, and they just don't keep them up. You know, they want whoever's the cheapest. So my point here is, we're going through a flux right now in my business. We're seeing that in our numbers, and I have a budget for everything. So we have some flooring upstairs I'm going to replace this winter as one of my winter projects, and we'll have to sit down and do some number crunching at the end of the season and see if I can at least start doing the framing. Now that would be the initial first step. That, you know, having someone deliver a couple pallets of 2x4s and then start working at least on the framing this winter. So that's kind of where we're going with this. Like I said, and what I encourage everybody to do, because it's easy to get off of a budget and just start spending money on stuff, and then you sit back and go, why did I do that, right? So I'm aware of that. It's not looking like I'm going to be able to totally finish out the basement just over this winter. You know, it's going to be a step-by-step process. So I'll still have a table set up, or 2 tables set up. I'm probably going to end up, because I'm going to start framing right here and back and around. So this area will probably end up in the office. We'll have to wait and see where I end up putting stuff. So anyways, but I'm still getting drawn into Napoleonics. I feel myself being pulled like getting too close to the black hole. Now here's the thing with Napoleonics, and I'm going to show you some stuff I've worked on here, kind of toying around with Napoleonics. We're talking mass armies, okay? We're talking lots of painting, lots and lots of painting. We're talking a multi-year, several-year process of building armies that I can field. And we do plan on, as the hobby den gets finished, and at that other end, as I showed you in other videos, we're going to be doing a bigger, longer table down there. I'm going to do a custom table I will probably build it. There's lots of videos out there for doing nice gaming tables. The point being, you have to have a big enough table to do Napoleonics, because I'm going to stick with the black powder. I'm going to be sticking with, as my rule set, I'll be sticking with 28 millimeter, not the 1/72 scale, which is a little smaller. I just felt I'd stick with the larger scale. So I'm going to need to at least, I may build an 8-foot by 4-foot board, and then we can make some foam panel boards, and I can do them up real nice like I've done my other ones, that we can pull up, put down, to actually give us even more room than that. If you just put a couple of fold-up tables at the either end and make it a longer board for doing Napoleonics. So so that's not going to be an issue. So we can provide the table space down here, but say starting with, I think I'm going to start with the British, since I already had some British that I dug out. My son used to play with. I think they're 54 millimeter scale. They're a lot larger miniatures. I bought them in a box. They're all pre-cast. I bought those when I was probably 10 or 11 at one of our local hobby shops. I took them home. I got some Testors enamel paints, red, white, the usual colors for the British, gold, and or yellow, and I painted them as best I could. It was a horrible paint job. My son, I dug him out when he was 6 or 7. He was getting into Army men, so he played with them. But I stumbled across this, and I want to give a shout out to Robert Cagney. And I do want to know, Robert, if you like another, is there a nickname we could call you? Can we call you Bob, Bobby? So let me know in the comments down below, Robert. Is Robert too formal? So if you guys want to go check him out, he's got some incredible stuff. It's what we would term a hobby hoarder, which I can't say that I'm not. I definitely am a hobby hoarder, but I mean, I've got N-scale trains and this and that and this and that. I'm into shooting. So yeah, I'm an avid hobbyist, and I get sucked into hobbies. I'm a cyclist, la la la. So we all have these multiple hobbies, but this guy, Robert, has stuff from the 80s. He's got old Warhammer stuff, which is when I got into Warhammer. When I went to University of Minnesota, there was a local hobby shop near downtown Minneapolis that I went down there to get stuff and look at stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, because I was in a fraternity and we were playing some Dungeons and Dragons on the weekends, buying our 12 packs and sitting around a table and playing some D&D. And then I went down there to look at miniatures and this and that, and I stumbled onto Warhammer 40K and I got sucked into that. So I was about in the same era as you were, Robert, in the 80s. With I got a bunch of, maybe we'll do another video on that here. All my old pointy nose Space Marines and the medals that I have, and the metal miniatures I have for 40K, and some of the older figs. So I really connected with a guy. We're kind of about around the same age. We're very involved with our kids, and we're avid hobbyists, and we're interested in a lot of things. The only thing I had comic books. I've had a comic book collection, but when I went to college, my mom sold them all at a garage sale when they moved, which was still a sore spot. I had all these beautiful comic book collections, and she literally sold them. And she says, when I came home for a break, oh, I had a garage sale, and I said, well, where's my comic books? And she said, oh, some guy came and bought the whole bunch of them for 20 bucks or whatever it was. And you might as well just given them to him for free, because that's basically what he got. The guy just, I'm sure guys out there, you stumble onto that, the mother who's having a garage sale and she has no clue that she's selling something so valuable for so little, right? Anyway, I digress. Now my son got into comic books. He has 3 or 4 boxes of comic books that he's collected, various superheroes and whatnot. So he did get into it at some point. So yeah, I think they're interesting, and I like seeing the comic book stuff. But Robert has got just, it's amazing. You won't see it, you won't believe it until you see it and you watch his videos. The things that he has, the pictures, and when I redo we get the hobby den done, I'm definitely going to do some nice framed stuff like that, Star Wars stuff, all my interests of the films and things that I've liked over the years. So I'm definitely get some great inspiration from seeing your videos, Robert. And yeah, but he's big in Napoleonics. He's got 1/72, he's got the 28 mil, and it has been interesting because he's done some good videos on comparing the Victrix, the company that makes the black powder game. They have their own line, and there's several different lines of troops out there, which is good because the pricing for a box of line infantry is going to be right around 20 bucks. So, and you just, like anything, and I've said this in other videos, it's like with Flames War, you start with like a core force. I'll probably get the black powder starter set that has some Brits and some French, and then build off of that, and you know, getting the rule book and all that together here as I get into winter, because that's going to be my winter project, I think. Then I have to balance that with the Flames of War stuff. So I definitely have to build more of my Brits for Africa Corps. Takes a priority over the German stuff because I pretty much already have plenty of German stuff, except for I would like to definitely get the Panzer IIIs on the table because those are good tanks to use. So here we are, you know, we've got this delicate dance of not to overbuy. I've got these miniatures, and I'll show you real quick. This is one that he is in this process. He's in the 3rd color stage. Obviously done the gray and the red. I did the blue canteen. Did experiment with the right shade of color for the canteens on the Brits. But you can see this is, I think, you guys can check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like 54 millimeter precast. So what I did was I dug these out. They were in my son has this huge box, Tupperware box with a handle that he has. It's just full of his old army men. So I dug all these guys out, like I said, since I've had it since I was 10 or 11. I just took a toothbrush. Some of the paint was flaking off the old Testers enamel, and I just took a toothbrush to them and knocked the loose paint off. Got some good 2X white paint and went ahead and primed them white. And then I just went ahead and did this guy up as an individual, and there's a finished, the same model, just totally finished. Now you notice that basing, I've done like a clump of flowers with some flocking, some grass, some stone, and I tell you who's been inspiring me with the basing and improving my basing, including my Kings of War basing, is Leon T66. T as in Tom 66. Look him up on the YouTube. This guy's, and especially to you, Robert, if look at Leon's basing for his Napoleonics, it is ridiculous. So I got on the interwebs. I ordered two different types of basically flowers. This one's like the purple, and this one has like the multicolored flowers, and they're super detailed. It's amazing. I got these from the UK. It took a week or so for them to come. It's WWS Scenic Manufacturer, mixed flowers, 6 millimeters, seems to be a good size. And then I got the heather from this company, and I've got the light static grass, but this is the good stuff like War Painter has, except you get more for like $6. It's got different colors in it. It's not just green. It's got some browns and some tans. It really looks realistic. And then I went ahead and picked up, you know, just your late fall, winter clump grass. And then I'm still looking. If you look on Leon's videos, he's got some that, and I haven't found him yet. I'm going to find him sooner or later. And maybe if Leon, if you see this video, if you could put in the comment sections down below where you're getting those clumps that have the white flowers that look like almost like daffodils, like wild daffodils. But you guys got to look at this basing. The basing is something I think a lot of, I know I'm missing. I've been doing, you know, rocks and, you know, the different mixtures of static grass, you know, and you know, and some of my Kings of War actually put little trees, little small trees and shrubs and things, which definitely helps. But I think once you start adding these other elements that Leon puts on his models, and I gotta say, his models are great. I mean, he's really talented with his shading and doing the darker tones, like with this gray, and then I'll come up with a little bit lighter gray, and then a little bit lighter gray on the tips of the pants, on the folds of the pants, and how he's doing his faces are amazing. So you got to check his videos out. Another guy I stumbled onto for Napoleonics and just painting in general, but it really inspired me with the Napoleonics, is Art Master Studio. I'm not sure his personal name, but if you know, just search Art Master Studio, he has a whole series of different types of miniatures that he does. It has a series that he does on Napoleonics. So I think thanks to you guys that I've mentioned, I am going to get into Napoleonics. I've decided. I've always been interested in it since I was a little kid. Obviously, I picked this kit up out of all the kits in the shop. That somehow attracted me. The line troops and the, you know, the guys standing and kneeling, firing in the line fire. The movies I've watched over the years, I've always been drawn to that era of warfare, and just the variety with the artillery and the cavalry and the different types of uniforms and that whole thing. So I'm definitely going to do that. The other thing that's tied in with black powder that I'm drawn into, and that is, I can't think of his name, and I didn't write him on my cheat sheet, so I would forget. Maybe it'll pop into my head, my old head here in a little bit, but they play Hail Caesar. I've watched a lot of battle reports. He subscribes to my channel, I subscribe to his channel. I love his battle reports. I love his Tactica, which I'm going to start getting into more. I did a video already about the list building for the new version 4 for Flames of War, and starting getting to some more of the tactics with list building. He does some really great videos on that. You probably know the guy. He says at the beginning of his videos, he says, "Put down your crack pipes," and what else? It's hilarious. Anyways, I feel like we're connected with him because I was a heavy metaler back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, you know, metallic. Well, I still am. I like all kinds of music, as I mentioned before on other videos. But again, another guy, and like I said in another video, like attracts like. So we're drawn to people we seem to have a lot in common with, which is really cool with YouTube. So we can't always be together, guys, playing games like we would like to. Maybe someday we can have some event where we can all fly somewhere and just have like a week-long wargaming binge. I know I'm getting a little off topic. This is going to be a ramble. It's a studio update ramble a little bit, so bear with me. But I know that there are companies out there that have done Wargamer Cruises, and I thought, God, wouldn't that be something cool to organize? An annual Wargame Cruise, and that would just be ridiculous, you know. So, you know, game all night, you know, sleep in a little bit, you got unlimited food, do some sightseeing on the islands, you know, do some R&R, then have scheduled times where you can come down into some of the ballrooms and set up tables and have some serious killer games. So, I don't know, that's something I may entertain doing now that the kids are moving off, going to be starting their own lives, and me having more spare time on my hands. You know, that would be something really fun to organize. Maybe get some of you guys involved out there in the interwebs, and we'll put our heads together and come up with something like that. That would be kick-ass to do a Wargamer Cruise. Anyway, back to where we were. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm headed with this. I want to also start building a Roman, and it's a classic Roman army for Hail Caesar as a starting point, because I've always been drawn to the Roman legions, and then do the Carthaginians. I actually have, as I showed in another video, I have some old miniatures that really need to be just, you know, properly washed with good quality wash and touched up. The painting needs to be upgraded from where I was at in 1992. I wasn't even using washes on my miniatures. You know, I mean, how barbaric is that? You know, so I got all that stuff I could convert to an army I could use as Carthaginians, or I could use them in King's War, right? So I am going to multi-base, stick with my multi-basing even for Hail Caesar. I just think for me that's the way to go, and I'm going to start improving my basing. I'm going to start using the flat cork and doing more stone strata and things like that on my multi-basing. So I'm definitely going to start really following Leon's lead on his amazing basing that he does. So yeah, so I invite you guys to look at that. Anything else? I went over my static grasses I bought, the flowers that give some nice color pop to your miniatures. I've shown you my 54 millimeter repaints, and you see with the paint, you know, you progress. You start as a 10-year-old blobbing cheap testers paint on a model, and up to now, and I'm hoping, you know, in 10 years I'll be even better. I can even possibly enter some of my stuff in a competition maybe. So we'll see, but Napoleonics, going back to the Napoleonics, I think, and even Robert's touched on this and other guys, you know, kind of just coming up with a good tabletop standard, and then like leaders and certain key groups you can really go into more detail, flag bearers, things like that, command stands, and then the rank and file, you really do have to crank them out, sticking with maybe 5 colors, you know, don't go past 5 colors, then doing just some basic highlighting, wash and done, you know, wash, highlighting and done. So you can crank them out, because with Napoleonics it's going to be, well, the core set I can just do some basic stuff to try to learn the rules and then build off of those, like I said. So eventually it's just going to be mass troops. I'll have to have more, buy some more display stands so I can display them. So yeah, so it's exciting, but I have to sit back and say, what should I do next? I got to finish up these Basilians. That's one of my things, and I kind of got away with it the last month or so. I had some I had started Basilians, and then I got pulled into my Flames of War British, because at some point I'm going to build a Normandy British army, and I have my Desert British army. So there's a whole lot of stuff I can do. I just have to balance it out with work, family, and you know, I gotta finish this project. It's got to get done. I gotta, if I can't afford to do it all at one shot, I'm going to do it step by step. Framing, electrical, drywall, ceiling, you know, the ceiling is a chore, then the floor, and just step by step. Then you do the trim, just like I did in my office, and my office turned out great. So yeah, but it's a process, and I had to pay a guy to come in and do all the drywall seams, because I suck at that. You have to get an electrician to come and run all your outlets. So it's a process. It's like I do a lot of times. It's too ambitious to think I can get all that done in one winter, even over 2 months, because to coordinate contractors and all the work, it's going to be a 2 to 3 winter projects, guys, to be realistic. But we'll still be doing cool stuff here. I'll still be doing my painting. I'll still be doing my updates. And the other cool thing is it's going to be step by step. You'll see the process of how this gets done. If you've got an unfinished basement and you want to turn that into your ultimate man cave, you can learn from maybe some of my mistakes. So we're going to try to think it through. We're going to do it step by step. And again, a shout out to all you guys I mentioned in this video. I really appreciate your time you take to make the videos so we can all connect via the interwebs. Hopefully someday we can all get together and meet face to face in the Ultimate Gamers Cruise. Or even if we don't do a cruise, I could organize just a retreat like Blue Table Painting used to do back in the day. Valhalla, you rent a big, beautiful chalet somewhere in the mountains and everyone flies in and it says gamer paradise for a 4-day weekend or something, right? Have a caterer come in. You can do it. You just kind of come up with what the cost is to cover all the costs, how many people you need, and then just start selling tickets and get it organized and do it. And then do it somewhere where the women can go off during the day, and shop and sightsee or whatever it is they can do. If you want to bring your significant others with you. Yeah, so lots to think about, lots to look forward to. And we're going to pop over here to the table and I'm going to show you what we've done setting up for this next battle playtest. Alright. And we're back. Real quick guys, I just wanted to show you something I failed to mention in my previous segment is what I also noticed watching these videos for Napoleonics, and I need to use this for like my Vaselines. I'll show you one of my Vaselines. Oops! There's one of my Vaselines. He's primed. I got about half of them built, half of them painted, or primed I should say. But these are just Gatorade caps. And I notice a lot of you guys do this, and I've been meaning to do some kind of system because what I'm finding is with this more intricate detailing, it'd be nice to be able to turn them upside down, and I've been finding I've been dropping my miniatures a lot while I'm painting. So I think it's nice. This is like, I got to thinking, what could I use? I think a lot of guys use old paint pots. Like I had an old paint pot with some clay on it that I've used for 15 mils. I stick in there like drivers for cars and for Jeeps and vehicles and things. I've been painting on this, which works good for that. But in the field, we buy this Gatorade by the case, and I drink at least one of these a day when I'm working in the field. And I got to screwing a cap back on last week, and I thought, you know what, this is the absolute perfect size for tactile handling. They've got the ridges on the ends, and I know Powerade has similar caps if you guys drink Powerade, but I'm going to start saving my caps every day. And then I have had out in the shop some two-sided tape, and you see it works perfect. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh, and I've thought of the other channel that I really like to watch, and a shout out to you. I'm not sure what his real name is, but he goes by Holy Diver. Holy Diver, I love your videos. Keep it up, man. Let's go over here to the table, and you can see I've greatly expanded upon. I've doubled the palm trees. We got a lot more palm tree stands. I went ahead and modeled a couple of desert style cliffs, or what would you call them, little passes, little desert passes that the wind has carved out over the eons to basically create areas where it's going to force your troops through various passes, like the Pass of Kasserine, which would be in the Patton's movie. It's highlighted in some other movies. And I did the British are going to be in the old church, the old bombed out church. So the Brits are on this side this time, and I've set up my forces, and we're going to go over that when I do this battle test on how important the new rules are with command, okay, and keeping companies and formations in command of a command, because that has become a central component of the new rules, guys. And with this, you're able to target specific units, like leader units, and kill the leader units, so that it basically makes the rest of the unit lose its coherency, and they have to leave the field. So that's going to become a big thing, I think, in tournaments with version 4 guys. And let's face it, I mean, that's is a sense of realism, because in the real world, unit cohesion and leadership was very important to keeping the units fighting. And that's what they're trying to mimic with this game now, is more of a simplification, but also to make your units move as a cohesive force. So in the last game, I was really not keeping some of my tank units in particular in correct command distance, because the way the new rules are and the way the old rules were, I could take this as a platoon, these three, and this is a platoon. Okay, this is my command. This is my command right here. This is my command for this formation. This is a Crusader formation. This formation needs to stay within an 8-inch chain, basically, so that they're within command distance. So this guy has the ability to direct their action. And Napoleonics is going to be the same way. I mean, you start losing leaders, and you lose your unit coherency, and the troops don't want to fight. It's the same thing. So it's important that I keep this as a cohesive unit. I keep my my little Stuarts are a cohesive force. That's actually one platoon. Technically, it should only be 4. That was for another video. And then we're going to have to keep my Grants. There's 2 separate platoons of Grants. Those now need to stay as part of their formation, right? And I need to protect, and I need to keep in mind that I want to protect my HQ, right? Which is going to be this dude. So there's that. So we're in this next test battle is going to be really important for me to play strict tournament rules, so I can get used to it, so when I go to tournament, I'm not making mistakes, right? So that's what we're going to do. Same thing over here with the Germans. I kind of created like another little villa down here, a little similar like what we did on the last test battle. And yeah, so basically the same types of forces, but again, you know, this is a Panzer IV formation. So the last video, my mistake was I was really kind of getting into the old rules where I was keeping them as separate platoons, independent. Well, you can't really do that anymore. You've got to stay within command of your HQ. Okay? So that's the main thing that's going to change. Now he's an independent tank. He's kind of freewheeling, and so is the Tiger 1. He's kind of freewheeling. So there are some situations where your list building, you're going to have to keep that in mind. That's why I want to get the Panzer IIs and the 3s, because then now I can field 3 separate formations of tanks for the various types of tanks, and they can work independently of each other. And by fielding all these Panzer IVs like this, it kind of locks me into keeping that as one big formation, which is fine. As I'm thinking that's, you know, really mimicking the real world when they were fighting in World War II. And I think that's going to be the key for the Germans beating the Brits, is they're going to have to stay more of a larger force instead of fracturing them and dividing them off into smaller units. There's my infantry are inside those vehicles, and they're just being represented back here. I put the infantry stands back here in the fort, I'm calling it, the German fort and desert fort. And yeah, so I think the tactic for this play test is going to be seizing the fort. I mean, you're going to have to seize the enemy fort, or headquarters, as it were. So yeah, that's it, guys. And again, I love to do these play tests. My son's at school, my nephew's in the army, and until I get more of a gamer group going down here, what I like to do is play both sides. I I play pretty fair. I kind of know what my game plan is, and obviously it's not totally like playing against another individual, but I can at least test different tactics and different movements playing against myself and trying different things out and tweaking the lists, because I've developed tons of lists and then they went and changed the rules again to version 4, which is fine. I liked version 4, but now I'm basically relearning the lists and the tactics to accommodate version 4. Alright guys, there we have it. The next video you'll see me post up, maybe even be within a day of posting this video. We'll start doing a play-by-play of this setup. Ciao guys, have a great week. Have a great weekend.